Hi, dear guests. This is Mark from the Moving Mountains podcast, a podcast about data and AI innovations in the 3PL industry. So, welcome to our digital studio. I have my guest Bart, who is with me. So, Bart, we actually met at Manifest this year, which is one of the largest conferences on digital innovation in the logistics industry. And although we're both Belgian founders, I think we bonded at the conference. So speaking of which, can you also just briefly introduce yourself and your company, Optioryx?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mark, for having me in the podcast. So, yeah, I'm Bart, founder of Optioryx. What we mainly do is we digitize and optimize warehouse processes. Mostly, we help 3PLs and logistics providers or big companies with a big logistic component to get more efficient, in a nutshell.
All right. I obviously I scanned the website beforehand, right? And I saw some modules that were mentioned about like AI scanning, warehouse digital twins, picking and packing optimization, truckload planning. So that's a bunch of modules. Can you just tell us a bit more about what the most popular modules are and how it started? Did you start with one module, or is it something that you expanded over time? So I'm really interested to see how that offering took shape over time.
Yeah, although we were only founded like 3 years ago, I think it's quite an interesting story. So we really start with 3D stacking and packing. So 3D Tetris. You probably know the game Tetris. You used to play it when you were young. Um, but you can also have a nice business case around it. So if you stack items better in boxes on pallets and trucks, you can ship less air and have a lower transport cost in the end. So we started developing that component first, mainly for boxes, also pallets, and then we also had requests to do it in a truckload planning tool. So we built a web application around that. What have we seen? First of all, that, for example, truckload planning can be very specific. You got different stacking rules. One item can be put on top of another, but not on the other one. So, from a business perspective, it's a little bit less scalable than the other components that we have. For cartonization, putting things in boxes, that doesn't work like that. It's a lot more scalable. The fact that we grew a team with big expertise in AI and optimization techniques, that opened a lot of other doors. We just got into conversations with people who are working at 3PLs who are looking for continuous improvement. We stayed like, what if you would have a team with that expertise? What would you do with that team? What problems would you tackle? And then gradually, step by step, we were involved in the other optimization tools that we built. One of them is one of the key issues is that walk distance in warehouses is too long, longer than necessary. So in the end, that means more people that are working, a higher employee cost, and that is a critical stuff because in picking, I think that 60% of total warehouse employees that are working on that specific step. Plus, they are walking 50% of the time. So it has a really big impact. So there we embedded clustering, order clustering, pickpot optimization, and now we recently added slotting optimization as well. So first we built those algorithms to connect directly to WMSs. But we've seen that if you want to maintain that entire system, you need to have your warehouse layout. Because without that information, without knowing the distance between every node and your network, you're not able to optimize. So we built a full digital twin on top of that to support that digital warehouse layout, but also to give a lot of insights on top of warehouses. For example, heat maps on where pickers are walking the most, SKU velocity heat maps. Also build a strategic component in a digital twin to simulate continuous improvement. People, typical warehouse engineers, they're looking, okay, what if we would change that warehouse layout a bit? What is the impact on picking productivity? What if we would buy new trolley types? What is the impact? So that's an all-in-one solution that we have there. Sometimes the 3D load building comes into play. If you need to stack pallets while optimizing your pickpot, that we can combine them. Another thing that we've seen is that, especially if you're looking at the 3D loading aspect, we saw that a lot of our prospects, they didn't have the master data. They didn't have the DIMs, the weights, product characteristics, what is stackable, what is not stackable. And then we had a look at what are the solutions out there that could answer. Sorry, I'm sitting in the dark. That could answer that question to gather those DIMs. And we had a look at static dimensioners, which cost a lot of money, 20,000 euro for a small one, 50,000 euro or more for a pallet dimensioner hanging at the ceiling.
Right.
So we were sitting in a pub around the corner, and all of a sudden, one of my co-founders, he saw the light. He thought, like, what if we do this with a mobile dimensioning app? So
All right.
we started developing that one. The initial development estimate was 2 or 3 weeks. However, we ended up with 6 months before it finally came in the App
That's
Store.
always the case, yeah.
Yeah. And then gradually, so we really look at what are the problems that our customers have. And one of the things was, okay, nice that you can have DIMs and weights, but can you scan a barcode? Easy one. But can you add pictures for cargo inspection? Can you add AI scanning to scan a document to retrieve unstructured information and make it structured? So we ended up in a no-code platform where you can just pull out the building blocks that you need, whether it's an image, an AI scanning, as a dimensioning. So you can support multiple flows. So it's not only used for master data gathering and dimensioning anymore, it's also used for cargo inspection, used for a variety of different stuff. Yeah.
All right.
So cool. In a nutshell, we started from one thing, 3D stacking, but we kept on listening to what logistics providers really need, what the problems are.
Right.
And then with our expertise in optimization and AI techniques, we just take the right things that are needed to solve that issue. And then every product, we make it very scalable so it can be used all around the world.
All right. Okay, I see. Well, does that also mean that you guys have if you're talking about mobile, does that mean that there's like an app available in an app store somewhere that they can download and use? If you're talking about, for example, freight inspection, well, yes, of course you can use, your own separate hardware, but if you can use it with a mobile phone, is that also something that you guys facilitate, or do I misunderstand it?
It's just downloadable from.
Okay, cool.
In the beginning, we were only on iOS, but a couple of months ago, we made an Android version as well.
All right.
So you can use it anywhere you like. The only restriction that you have is that dimensioning. The dimensioning aspect is only available on iOS Pro devices and the Zebra TC58 with premium time of flight sensor. With all the other modules like taking pictures, AI scanning, that's available on all devices.
Okay, that's neat. Cool. So how do you guys work? Is it like a subscription model, or is it something that also requires you to customize to a large extent? How does that work?
We're mainly license-based, so we try to keep the threshold to try out the products close to €0, no threshold at all. For the dimensioning app, it's super easy to do. For the mobile app, sorry. For the other tools, the digital twin, it requires a bit of knowledge on how you set up that digital warehouse layout and how to run the scenarios. But I think every clever person who knows how to work in Excel, for example, can use our tool as well. But typically there we support our customers in uploading the data and just calculating the business case. When we talk, for example, about the warehouse digital twin, it's nice to first reconstruct the as-is situation, how the picking was done. That was proposed by the WMS, so how it happened in reality. For example, 100 kilometer. Now we say, what if you apply these 3 optimization techniques, then you can reduce your walk distance by X%. Okay. And by the way, we think the biggest chunk of the optimization is, for example, in clustering optimization. We recommend to do that one. So we guide them throughout that process. That being said, that process, if you got the data templates available, we just upload it, and in one day you got the final results and the business case that you can have.
Okay, so it's quite low level to start, and you could easily like kick this off with a POC that you implement, right?
Yeah. So the digital twin, you can just upload Excel files if the
Mm-hmm.
business case is there, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
95% of the time.
yeah,
Then we look into the integration aspect. So we got APIs that can connect to a WMS,
yeah,
but there we see there's the biggest struggle. Like the business people of the customer, they're always or almost always interested to get to that business case.
yeah.
So there they can be convinced pretty easily. But then, of course, you need to grab a ticket at the IT department. Although it's only a couple of days' work, it
Mm,
needs to fit on the IT roadmap, and then things take time,
yeah.
as you probably are very familiar with. Bart.
Yes, definitely. That was also something that I was going to ask. So, well, what we experience at Nimion is that, getting data out of a warehouse management system is pretty easy. And, well, we build, yeah, we build data warehouses, data lake houses, this kind of good stuff. The only thing that we experience is that feeding that information back into the warehouse management system is another type of story where you sometimes also need a good, connection or contact at the vendor side of the WMS. Is that also something that is kind of experienced as a roadblock at Optioryx, or is that something that you guys say, okay, yeah, I mean, it's not really an issue for us?
Yeah, this is, I think, sales-wise, the biggest blocker in terms of timing, because yeah,
Mm,
sometimes it takes 3-6 months to get it on the IT roadmap. It
yeah,
takes a bit of time. We're also looking into building connections or standard integration with the biggest WMSs out there. However, as you know, for example, SAP, WM, there are so many different versions of SAP.
definitely. Yeah.
Same with the other two big suppliers. So that is, yeah, quite unclear how you can build that standard integration.
Right. Yeah, I see. I totally understand. The thing is, also like probably you'll get this question 1,000 times, but it might be useful for the listeners as well. One of the struggles that you have launching, and it's something that we experience too, because we have two AI modules that we're also offering in the market as standalone products right now. But so one of the issues that we experience in mostly the sales process is, is AI a layer that will be fully integrated in the user interface of the existing system, so the WMS or the TMS or any other system that it's applied to, or will you create a separate user layer with a separate application that requires you to open another tab or open up a desktop or a mobile application, for example? Is that something that you guys have a very specific opinion about, or do you say like, yeah, it's quite clear where the market is going right now?
Good question. First of all, I think you're talking about AI. I think what we do is we consider ourselves as an intelligence layer. So I think 20-30% of the things of the optimization that we do is really AI driven.
Okay.
The other 70-80% is foregoing meta heuristics.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's even more complex to do. So what we see is these WMS providers that they got very good developers, but I think they're lacking a bit of expertise on the real pure optimization side of things. So that's a good thing for us. And then, are they going to do this? I think Manhattan Active is the one that goes pretty far in the
Okay.
optimization level. The other ones are still lagging, that's for sure. But even then, if you look at all the companies who are using Manhattan, not everybody is on the latest version. Sometimes they go back 10-15 years. So there are also a lot of versions there. Same with SAP, same with Blue Yonder. So there's still a big market out there that if they would happen to add those modules to their system, which would take them a lot of time,
Yeah.
that there's still another a big chunk of the market that doesn't have any optimization capabilities. That being said, a lot of companies develop their own WMS. That's what we see. So then there's no optimization component there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Talking of which, so I mean, yes, the market's moving pretty fast in adopting all kinds of new tools, and I think it was clear from Manifest that you have so many startups that are trying to ride the AI wave. I think that's a thing that we're seeing right now, right? That AI is so popular that it creates for many an opportunity to create a business case. However, I mean, there are still so many challenges that the 3PL, or even in a larger sense, the logistics industry is facing today. So, what do you see as the main struggle the coming years for 3PL companies?
That's a big open question.
Definitely.
I think, yeah, looking at it from there's so many different angles that you can take. It's all about efficiency
Mm-hmm.
and service level, and that has multiple aspects. I think when it comes down to real AI stuff, that it's all about streamlining processes. Probably the AI agents you're talking about are also about automating a lot of documentation processes. I think that's a very important one. It's also streamlining the people who do the work on the floor, like the picking. That's more where we come in. It's about taking the next step in digitization. So not only talking about WMS, but also mobile apps to just fix the issues that they have. For example, cargo inspection. Okay, you got carrier shipper disputes. Where does it come from? Okay, just take a picture, upload it to a platform. And technology makes it available to do that very easily in a couple of minutes right now. Another one I see at 3PLs is they got a variety of customers. A lot of the warehouses are multi-client. And on one hand, you got automation coming up, which is very expensive, particularly only for the very big customers. And the other one is like optimization and digitization. It's not one or the other. They can be combined, of course.
Yeah.
But what I see as a key topic or a key capability to have as a 3PL is, okay, you got a new customer. You need to capture all the data that they have, all the order history, etc., all dimensions, sales rotation, etc. And then you need to have the clever people or clever tools to know, okay, what should I automate, what should I not automate, and how should I, define the right warehouse layout, how should I buy the right trolley types, and that's a super important one, that you can set up your customers in a decent and very efficient way.
Mm-hmm. All right. No, that's great. I mean, that's a great answer to indeed a very broad question. One of the cliches, if I can call it that way, of the 3PL industry is that on average the companies moving in this space are slow adopters of technology. Is that also your experience, especially in the newer forms of technology that we're talking about?
Yeah, I think if you compare to other industries, that the logistics sector is a bit more conservative. I think you're right on that one.
All right. And does it also, I mean, we're seeing consolidation across the industry. I mean, we have to be fair, right? The larger companies buying up the smaller ones. To me, this kind of feels like it creates a winner takes it all situation where the larger companies, because they have more cash available, even if the margins remain thin, they still have more cash available to invest in new opportunities, new technology, as such creating again a strategic advantage versus the smaller ones. So how will this, what side will this go, and how does this affect you guys as a startup? Are you just aiming for the large companies, or is there also room for mid-sized players or even smaller companies to become a customer?
Both of them really depends on the optimization product. I think For example, the digital twin aspect, we're typically looking at 3PLs who are a bit bigger, let's say at least 10, 15 pickers, then it makes sense to do it. I follow you in the reasoning that, of course, the bigger companies have more budgets to invest in innovation, etc. On the other hand, I think right now with the technology development that has been going on, it's also quite easy for smaller companies to adopt that technology because there is a very low threshold. For example, the mobile app is, I still see a lot of processes being done on paper. Or I take a picture and I drop it somewhere on a drive, on a SharePoint, and you cannot find that picture again. So all these small things, and these can be very easily be digitized right now, also for small players, because there's not a big cost.
Exactly.
These things. So
Yeah.
it works on both ends, and I think the bigger ones they might look, for example, more into automation, etc. Not everything fits in automation. Sometimes you got bigger products in DIY or retail, and then I think the smaller companies they have more opportunities when there's a more added value service that can be delivered, so they can have more value and a better customer binding as well.
Yeah, I imagine that 3PLs focusing mostly on bulk or pallets are probably the ones that are, not necessarily the biggest, or the ones who are getting the main advantages from automation. Is that about correct?
It depends. If it's just full pallets, then you can automate with high bay stuff. That's for sure. If it's like DIY, like bulkier products, it's difficult to put a lawnmower in an auto store, for example. So these ones typically will stay in the manual way of working.
Nice. Okay, nice example. Like we both, as I said at the beginning, we both attended Manifest. We both talked to a lot of people, but I'm mostly interested in what your observations were from all your conversations. What were the current concerns that they mentioned? What's your main takeaway from all of your conversations that you had, for the company, for yourself, but also for the industry?
Yeah, main takeaways. I think everybody's talking about AI and the crazy stuff. Also, automation that goes really far. But in the end, people don't know what exactly to look for. So they try to get some ideas and try to get to the adoptions of those techniques that make sense. And
Yes.
I think a lot of people need guidance on what's out there, what they should do. That's one thing. On the other hand, I felt that while I was talking to a lot of 3PLs, I got the feeling that the products that we have really solve issues that they are experiencing at the moment. So that's a good sign. And then what I found really interesting is also there was one guy who was talking on the main stage about the fact that the entire logistics industry has been focusing on structuring data and messaging over the multiple steps in the supply chain. And right now with AI, that is changing, because you can take a picture from an unstructured document and structure it. I think that makes a lot of sense, and there's going to be a big change on that front as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're all kind of in waiting anxiously probably for some new companies to launch their products, because I saw also this guy, I think he was an ex-Amazon big shot who launched Augur. I think they collected like $100 million to build like a full integrated logistics chain. So they're not only focused on 3PL, but they just want to have all the different touch points with all the different players in the entire logistics chain and try to make that more visible. I thought that was like a tremendous project. I mean, if you're looking at their website, it still remains quite, let's say, intangible at this point, what they exactly are building.
So what you're saying is that they pitched it well to the VCs.
Yes, I think so. And also the guy, I think, has some experience, well, a lot of experience in the market, and also worked for some big companies. So I think there's definitely the visibility aspect that's playing a role. But looking forward to what these guys will be doing, also in terms of, automation. I saw Okado that also brought some interesting insights on how they are basically optimizing the supply chain and warehouses, and then specifically for more fast-moving consumer goods. So that's also a very specific niche, of course, that they're focusing on with their solutions. But there you see the blend between AI and actual automation and the physical resources. No, I mean it's super interesting what's happening in the industry right now. I think from our side, Sony Meon side, I think we're just seeing a lot of companies that are still doing, because you also mentioned Excel. We try to move those Excel sheets into data lake houses and create like a central repository. Which brings me to the last question of this podcast to you, Bart, is that what Nemeon is building is we're seeing just silos of data, because you guys mostly focus on WMS, but we're also working with TMS data or just general invoicing data, and we've tried to bring that all together. Is that also something that would be on the roadmap for Optioryx to connect like to a data lake house, or will you keep on connecting straight into the WMS?
Good question. Happy to discuss, of course. My first thoughts are, what we try to do is redrive that operational efficiency. So then we need to give those instructions to a WMS, that's for sure. That being said, I think what we always try to do, especially if it's a proof of concept, is really measure productivity gains afterwards. And then I think the Nemeon dashboard might come into play there to really follow up all the savings that we're able to realize, and every manipulation or even the warehouse layout change that we can really see it in the numbers afterwards.
That's a really cool approach. I think we should discuss definitely. All right. Thanks, Bart. It was a super interesting session. I enjoyed it a lot. I hope you did too. I was glad to have you as a guest, and I hope you'll also keep on following the Moving Mountains podcast.
I will. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, Bart. See you.
Bye bye.